And go live. And we're on. How are you, Kevin?
Hey, how are you? Thank you for having me.
Thank you for coming. So my name is Paulina Hurtado. I am the broker owner of Century 21 Global Connections Realty, and I've been in the real estate industry since I was 21 years old. I have an amazing guest, Kevin Jimeno, today here, who also opened his own business when he was 25 years old. Can you tell us a little bit about yourself, Kevin, please?
Yeah, I feel like it was yesterday, but the calendar does not agree with me. So I was uh, I was in the business also at 20 years old, and I learned early the power of real estate and how to use the banks to be able to acquire essentially a roadmap to financial freedom, and uh, and I've been working on that, lending mortgages and money for investments for now close to 15 plus years, and I kind of created a nice little roadmap for my clients to follow, and I think that's what we're gonna get into today.
Awesome. And I see here from your resume that your company has sold over 100 million in sales, correct?
Yeah, so I guess that's a lot of money to be lent out for real estate, but it's been years, and luckily we've been blessed to have the opportunity to partner with people to get them into their properties, not just the ones that they want to live in, but also the ones that create some financial um, freedom and give them some cash flow.
Perfect. So today, one of the things that we're going to be talking about is how to obtain financial freedoms through rental properties. And then that's pretty much what we're going to get into it. I know I bought my first property when I was 18 years old, and that pretty much has been able to give me that financial independence that I have now, as opposed to having to, struggle and live paycheck to paycheck. So let's talk a little bit about that and how we can tell everybody else how they can go ahead and obtain that.
Yeah. So there's a couple different ways, right? There's not one, like, it's kind of like if you needed to go to Miami Beach, there's 4 or 5 different ways you can get there. So I want to talk about a specific strategy, but before we get into that, maybe let's break down kind of the different ways. So now the popular way that people see getting into real estate and investing into real estate is the one that has a bunch of TV shows, which is flipping properties. So people ask me all the time, how can I buy from an auction, or how can I get a foreclosure, and how does that work? And then I can fix it up and either rent it or sell it and make a lot of money. And that is a great strategy. There's ways to get into that world. Maybe not right now due to the economy and the uncertainty, but it's not as easy for people to find those good deals and have access to it or get the cash to be able to buy it. So the other way is buying a investment property after you kind of already have your house, and then you start looking into what it takes to buy an investment property to rent it out that's maybe already fixed up and it doesn't have anything that you need to work on, and it might be a house in your neighborhood, or a house in a neighborhood that you have a friend or family that you like and it's for sale, and you're like, oh, I wonder if I can buy it and I can rent it. And you come to find out that if you already own a house and then you want to buy maybe a condo or a duplex or a triplex, you end up having to put anywhere between 20 to 25% down payment. And that now maybe can potentially become a lot of money for some people, because if we're talking about 20% on $300,000, that's $60,000. If you're talking about 25% now, because it's a multi-family, now we're talking about even more money plus closing costs. So it can get upwards to $80,000, $100,000, depending on the size of the investment property you're looking to buy. And that sometimes becomes a lot more difficult for someone to do. And maybe you could do it once, but can you do it many times throughout, the next 10 to 15 years to really get, a nice portfolio that can eventually replace whatever your income is right now so that you can, finally retire or quit your job and say, I have enough passive income with real estate that I don't need to work anymore. And that's kind of what everybody wants. But do we have 20 to 25% down to buy 4 or 5 properties to be able to accomplish that? And that's usually like the big challenge, the big, rock in the middle of the sidewalk that keeps us from moving forward.
Right. And how does somebody do something like that? Because I know, like, for example, I started with a condo, right? When I was 18 years old, I bought myself a condo and I declared that as my homestead property, right? And then from there, I got married and we went to a townhouse and then we declared that as a homestead property. And then we upgraded now to a house. So I'm guessing somewhere along the lines is how people would obtain that, right? If you could elaborate a little bit on that, that would be great.
Yeah, that's perfect. So essentially, I call that the smart money ladder. You essentially kept climbing up and improving the situation to be able to qualify for, correct me if I'm wrong, but you may have chosen to give more down payment, but what were the average down payments for each one of those properties? Percentage?
No, 3.5%, because they were my first time. The condo, it was 3.5%. And the good thing about the condo is that, there's also, if you live in the property with your homestead property, I believe it's for 2 years or 3 years, then you don't have to pay capital gain taxes also when you sell that property.
Exactly. So exactly that. When you learn the power of leveraging the banks and their guidelines and their rules, and you understand how the whole thing works, which we're going to break down today for everybody listening, you realize that you can keep climbing the ladder and it becomes a lot easier than what we just talked about 5 minutes ago. So you did it perfectly, where every time you're buying a property that you're telling the bank you're going to live in at least for 12 months, then they say, okay, this is your homestead, this is your primary. You can buy it with as little as 3 to 5% down payment, depending on what you qualify for. So now compare a $300,000 duplex and you're buying it with 3.5% down payment versus 25% down. We're talking about $10,000 versus $70,000. Like, that's a $60,000 difference that you can keep in your pocket for the next property. And that is what I see a lot of people they don't understand it. They've never been taught it. So usually their first instinct is, let me buy the dream house. So they want to save up their first bit of money. Maybe they're starting a family, who knows what situation they're in, and they go straight to the house. The problem with that is now when you want to start investing into real estate to get that financial freedom so that you have passive income coming in from rents, down the road, however many years that is, now you're stuck, because once you have your house or you have a beautiful townhouse, 3 bedrooms, 2 bathrooms, 1,700 square feet, if you want to go back and buy a 1-bedroom condo because it's a good rental property that you could easily rent, you're still going to have to give at least 20 to 25% down payment on that smaller condo. Whereas if you would have bought that condo first,
right,
and only bought it with 3 to 5% down, now that property you most likely, depending on which market you're in, you would have spent probably no more than $10,000 to be able to acquire that property, lived in it for 12 months. You can even sometimes get away with living in it for less, because in 6 to 8 months, if you find something else and you have the money, you know, it's not illegal to upgrade your life. So, but standard is 12 months to live in your primary, right? That's what the intentions are and the agreements are. And then you upgrade to the next property. Now, what I like to have my clients always do as they're following the smart money ladder is once you get that little condo, if you get it, then upgrade to a multifamily and try to get as many units as possible, which with an FHA loan, for example, or even a conventional, you can get up to 4 units for as little as 3.5% to 5% down. Now, this is huge because, Paulina, you can tell us an average fourplex in Miami cost a lot of money.
Yes.
Over $500,000.
Yes, at least if you're like, oh, you know, 500,000, but over that, definitely.
Right. So if we're talking 25% down of 500,000, you're talking about $125,000 down payment plus closing costs. Well, what if that was your second property and you were only buying it with 3.5% down payment? It is a huge difference. And automatically, let's just say if you're really aggressive and you got yourself your condo, and then the next year you went, go hard or go home, right? You go for the home run and you go for the fourplex. Now, by the time you're done, you got 5 units in your portfolio.
Right.
And
now, the question is, they don't have to sell, you know, yeah, I wanted to say it, but they don't have to sell the condo, right? That can automatically become a rental property.
Correct. As long as you can qualify and show that you can qualify to maintain the income, you can go ahead and upgrade. If you need the rental income to offset the mortgage payment of whatever property you're leaving, a conventional loan lets you use what they call departure rent, meaning I'm departing this place that I'm living in and I'm going to go live into the next property, and I'll be able to rent this place for $1,200. The bank will say, okay, we'll give you 75% credit of that rent. So that $1,200, we'll let you use 75% of it as income. And then you're going to be able to go and buy, let's say, the fourplex. The beautiful part about buying the fourplex is the other 3 units that you're not going to live in is going to be collecting rent as well. The bank will say, we'll give you 75% of that rent as well to count towards your income. So you have your regular income from your job, whatever it is that you do for a living. You have the rent, and you have the rent from the place that you're buying, all of it helping you qualify for the next property. And now you're into a multifamily. Let's say you live in the 2-bedroom unit or 3-bedroom unit and you rent out the rest. From there, the way the ladder works is it just needs to make logical sense that it's always bigger and better. You can't go backwards because the bank doesn't believe that you're going to leave a 3-bedroom, 2-bathroom house to go live in a 1-1 triplex. You know, they're going to say, wait a minute. Why are you leaving your townhouse, 3-bedroom, 2-bathroom, to go live in a triplex? That doesn't make sense.
Right.
But they will believe that you're leaving your triplex if you're in a 1-1 or a 2-1 to go live in a townhouse that is 3 bedrooms, 2 bathrooms. So now in a year or two, when you save up your money again, now you go and upgrade into a townhouse. Or I've even had some clients that are super lucky and they were able to find a bigger multifamily, a nicer multifamily, and they've jumped from one multifamily into another multifamily, and now they've increased the number of doors that they collect rent from dramatically because now they have the condo and 2 multifamilies. It's a little harder to do because there's not as many options, but not impossible. So as long as it's bigger and better, you can start playing Monopoly and essentially never give more than 3 to 5% down in any one of the properties, leaving your dream home, the house that you're eventually going to settle in, you know, the one with the backyard and no neighbors next to you, for last. Once you leave that one as the last place, you can upgrade to bigger and better as much as possible, and then eventually get to that. And now, how many doors do you have in your portfolio to be able to say, in 10 years, I collected all this. Now I have a plan to really retire and have financial freedom. And that's
Right.
the roadmap that we kind of map out for everybody, leveraging the power of mortgages and the guidelines, knowing the guidelines, and the power of real estate, finding good cash flow properties.
Yeah, so essentially, let's say I live in the condo for a year, then I go into the multifamily for another year. Then let's say I'm very lucky and I get into the multifamily for another year, and then let's say I leave, then I can move to a townhouse, I guess, from the second multifamily, right? Because the townhouse will be bigger.
As long as it's bigger and better.
And then from there leaving. So by 4 years, I would have had pretty much financial independence because I have 10 units, right? And basically with that, you can have the financial freedom to have depending on the income. I mean, rents are not cheap right now. Even a 1 bedroom, 1 bathroom, but at a duplex, you're looking at $900 or $1,000. So let's just say that they're all 1 bedrooms, which obviously they wouldn't be. But now you have $10,000 of income coming in every month, and you're retired in like
Yeah,
5 years.
and that's exactly what it is. So here's a couple different things that I want people to think about as they're listening to us. I see thousands of people's financial situations every single year as we try to see what they qualify for. And a lot of people have the 401k, right? That's probably the most traditional vehicle that I'm seeing after seeing millions of people throughout the last 15 years. And that is kind of like their hope for retirement, right? We have a 401k, and I'm not saying 401ks are bad. If your company's matching whatever you're contributing, then hey, that's free money. I'm not saying that that's a bad vehicle, but I have now, because of the Smart Money Life and the ladder and my strategies, have developed in my consultation a question of, let's review your 401k. Like, is it going to hit the goals? How much return on investment is it getting per year? What's the exit strategy? I like to talk a little bit of future plans. Like, what's the retirement? What's the end goal here? And most people have no idea. Most people have no idea how much the return on investment on the 401k is actually getting. Most people don't know how much fees it'll cost them when they want to pull out the money. Most people don't even understand if that money is going to be taxable or it's not going to be taxable. So, and if you're listening to this and you have a 401k and you're like, man, he's actually talking about me, I don't really know any of those numbers, don't feel bad. Like, that's okay. This is what we're talking about this for, to build an awareness to say, you know what, let me find out how much return on investment that I made last year on my 401k money. How much return on investment did you make right now with the coronavirus stock market hit? And when they start to find out, very little make more than about 3 to 4% return on their 401k. And when they start to do the math, which we help them analyze, they realize that if they want to stop working at 50, 55, 60, nobody ever says, oh, I want to stop working at 70. Like, I've never met somebody that they say that if they want to work by choice because they don't want to be bored at home, but to have to work, everybody always like, I wish I could before the quote unquote average age of retirement, which is great. And this is the way how we all should feel. We should want to have financial freedom to be able to enjoy life. But we start to realize that we don't have a plan to get there. And the 401k is just not the plan that's going to accomplish that, because it's kind of like throwing money into something, closing your eyes and hoping it works out by the time I'm ready to retire. And that's kind of the overall like
Kevin, are you there?
Maybe not on purpose, but that's just kind of the overall theme. Like, hey, I don't know, this is the easiest vehicle, and I was expecting for it to have some money, and when I retire, hopefully it's enough to take care of me by the time I don't want to work anymore. So once we establish that that's not really a strong, plan to kind of leave it in the hands of other people who are managing that fund and not sure what's it gonna end up being.
And how many 401ks are going to give you $10,000? Let's just say on the lower end, right? Because I like to be very conservative with the numbers. So on the lower end, how many are going to give you $10,000 a month for you to retire? That's not even feasible, right?
Right. 100%. So now let's take, if you're able to get 10 doors, just to make the numbers nice and round. And let's just say every door is $1,000, which we know that rent is a whole lot more. And especially in 15 years, rent is even going to be higher in big cities, especially down here in South Florida. So easily it's probably 15 to close to $20,000, if not more, depending on the properties you pick. But let's just go with $10,000 just so the numbers are nice and even. This is what I tell people. If your mortgages, when you get all these properties, equal to $8,000 and you're getting a cash flow of $10,000, the biggest mistake that I'm seeing investors do is they live with the cash flow. So they'll take that $2,000 of extra money that they're making from the properties, and they'll say, cool, now I can get the car that I want, and now I can have that pay my mortgage, which is okay, cool that it pays your mortgage, but you're getting 30-year mortgages. There's nothing wrong with that, but you're delaying your financial freedom 30 years essentially, because sure, it's helping you pay your mortgage, or it's helping you pay your car, or take, a nice vacation every year, but it's not going to hurry up and retire you in a short period of time if you choose that strategy. We're not talking right or wrong. We're just talking preferences. If you take that extra cash flow, step one, make sure you have enough reserves, because once you have these properties, the roof, the air conditioning, maintenance, plumbing, things pop up, you need to have the money to be able to back it up. So the first thing you do is make sure that for every property, you keep what I call a 6-month piggy bank. So if your mortgage is $2,000, you multiply that by 6, which is $12,000, and save $12,000 just for that particular property in case you ever need to do anything for that property. So for every property, you keep 6 months reserves. Whatever the mortgage payment is, multiply it times 6. Have that as your emergency funds. Once you have your reserves for every single one of your properties, your next step is take that cash flow that you get from every property and send it towards the principal. So send it extra along with your mortgage payment, send it extra. You can actually calculate, depending on how much it is on each one, and see how fast that'll pay off your mortgage. 9 out of 10 times, if you do the numbers, if you send an average of 2 extra total payments per year, so instead of making 12 months of payments, if the money you send extra adds up to about 14 extra payments, on average, you're going to pay off that property in 15 to 16 years. If you're sending even more than that, then you pay it off even faster. So potentially you can calculate how much more to send additionally to pay your properties off in 10 years. Now, in 10 years, you don't have mortgage payments. You'll only have property taxes and insurances to pay for. And if they have associations, depending on which property you pick. And then now all that rent money is free and clear after you pay those expenses. And now you have serious income coming in. The inflation of the rents in 10 to 15 years, take that into account. And now you have financial freedom. And we're talking about, guys, a short road. this is a road that can retire you in 10 to 15 years if you get laser focused to really save, buy, live, move, save, buy, live, move. If you can sacrifice, because that's the thing. Sometimes I'll talk to a brand new married couple and, you know, they were dreaming of their newlywed house and they were coming to me to buy this house that they've had their eye on, and it's the first house and it's 420,000. And when I say, hey, we'll do it, you know, you're the boss, let's do the numbers, but let me show you the smart money ladder too, because you guys are in a perfect opportunity to start the road to financial freedom. And my job is just to introduce you to the concept and let you know how it works. At the end of the day, you guys decide what you want to do. I see a struggle. I'm going to be honest with you. I see a struggle. They look at each other and it's like, wow, but I really wanted the house. And we had already the dream of the backyard and the pool and the barbecue. But they're also going to be paying $3,200 a month. And they also have nice cars. And when I do the debt to income and everything, it's going to be hard for them to save a lot of money to be able to put 20 to 25% down to be able to invest later on. And what's the retirement plan? Oh, I don't know. We'll worry about that later. And I see the struggle, and not everybody picks the smart money ladder. Sometimes they just go for the house because it's just, you know, the baby's on the way and I can't wait, and whatever the case is, I understand and I'm not judging, but that is why you don't have everybody in a situation where they are retired and living off passive income, because sometimes we want the car or sometimes we want the vacation. And that's the challenge. It's talking to us and really saying, like, what's important? Do we want to work for the next 30 years? Do we want to be in that grind, that rat race, get a check, pay off debt, get a check, pay off the house? And then sure, you might have a paid off house in 30 years, but then what? Then I have people knocking on my door trying to get a reverse mortgage to be able to cash out on that house because they didn't have any retirement income planned. And now they're 60 and they don't want to bother their kids. And all they have is a paid off house. And it's nice that you have a paid off house because you have somewhere to live, but the Social Security income is not going to cover your living expenses, and you're 65 years old. You're still young. You can easily live another 20 to 30 years, and all you were able to accomplish was paying off your main house, and there's no backup plan. There's no passive income. And now what? So that's what's happening. Like, that's what I'm seeing in our industry and in the financial situations of America today.
So, Kevin, let me ask you something. So what happens if, I wish I knew 10 years ago what you're telling me now, but, and I do believe that I started, with the condos and the townhouse and we did buy some investment properties, we did do some flips, and then our single family house that we're now. But what happens if somebody just, they didn't know this information that you're telling me right now, and they started with the single family house? Is there anything else that they could do in order to be able to retire in 10 years? Because I want to retire in 10 years.
Yeah, that's honestly a great question. And a lot of people are in this situation, right? If they stuck with us, because maybe some people heard us 20 minutes ago and they say, well, I already got the house, I messed up, I'm out of here. But if you're still here, trust me, there's hope. And what I'm describing to you guys, you have to look at it. It's a perspective change. I invite you to look at it as a business model. And just like any good business, if I pitched you a really good business, you might potentially be interested in partnering together to do a good business. So there is probably somebody in your world right now that you trust, a family member, a younger cousin, a younger sibling, or your own kids that you can partner with to be able to follow this smart money ladder, because they are the primary residence person that qualifies, and you can be essentially a co-borrower, or you don't even have to be on the loan if they qualify on themselves. You can give the financial as a gift. You can be giving the funds as a gift. Behind closed doors, you guys have your own agreements. You can be added to title of the property later on, after the closing, legally, without a problem. There's no problem with any homeowner adding people to title. Title is what counts. That's what really means who owns the property. So I have plenty of clients that already have their house and it was too late to follow the smart money ladder, but they're doing it with their cousin or their daughter or their younger brother or someone that they trust, and they're starting to follow this ladder. And it's great also for realtors to know this, because when you teach people the strategy, you now create these lifelong relationships with your clients, because they need to find the doors over the next 10 years. And you're the person who introduced them to the strategy, and you're helping them, their family members, if they partner with someone, and you start basically really changing families' lives because they're partnering together. So I have a client that he's doing this with 3 different people. So he's doing it with
Great.
his cousin, his daughter, and his brother. And they're like, he wants to have, 30 doors in the next 10 to 15 years. And they're on a mission.
That's awesome. That's perfect. And I think one of the biggest thing is that people need to look at this, like you said, it's a business, right? And a lot of people look at it like, oh my God, I'm going to have to I cannot live in the single family house because, now I'm going to have to live in the condo. And it's like I always say, everything that it's good in life always comes with a little bit of sacrifice. And if instead of looking at it like, oh, I'm going to go from my single family house to, now I'm going to have to buy a condo, this is just too much. You got to look at it. Okay, if I sacrifice myself for the next, it's not even 10 years, if you sacrifice yourself for the next 5 years, right? And in 5 years, you do the strategy that you're talking about, then you are going to have financial freedom in 10 years, like, 15 years or, 15 years out, which, if you're in your 20s, then by 35, you're going to be out. If you're in your 30s, then you're looking by 45, which is much less of a time, which is I think the retirement age now has gone up to 75 years old. It used to be 70, and I think it used to be 65. I think right now we're looking at 75. So if you look at the small adjustment that you have to make for the next 5 years, we know that moving is it may be stressful for some people, but if you look at the small adjustment that you have to make for the next 5 years, and then like you said, you make 2 extra payments a year, which you don't even have to do it a year. Like, for example, on my case, I sent, $300 extra, $200 extra a month. So it's a lot easier that way than having to come up with the 2 extra payments a year. And then I know that in 10 years, I'll have my house paid off. So the idea in reality right now, with the way low interest rates are so low, because I mean, we're seeing as low as 2.75, and I think even lower, it's very minimum the interest rate that you're paying. There's nowhere that, even if you want to put money in the bank, that you're going to get 2.75%. So it's very low, the interest rate that you're paying right now. And the rent, and this goes even for people that are renting right now. Most people that we're encountering right now we've been extremely busy during this past couple of months, despite COVID-19, is most people we're encountering is they didn't know that their mortgage payment was going to be less than what their rent was going to be. So, imagine like a 2-bedroom, 2-bathroom townhouse, let's just say, they're looking at about $1,600 in a mortgage payment as opposed to $2,000 if they wanted to rent it. So, it's very smart for somebody to come and speak to Kevin or myself or both of us. I do the real estate, he does the mortgage side, but it's very smart for somebody to come and speak to us, because we could potentially get you in that 10-year plan for you to be 100% financially independent, for you to be successful. And, one of the things that I always say in all of my webinars is, growing up, I was very blessed to have a dad that taught me, that money should be working for us instead of us working for money, which is very different than most people are. But, most families, unfortunately, leave a debt to their family instead of leaving a legacy to their family. And how great would it be if, I have a 3-year-old and I have a 2-year-old, and how great would it be if, as soon as they are of age, I can start teaching them the financial independence. And by the time they're 18, I could do the same thing, teach them that they could buy a condo. And then instead of moving into a townhouse, hey, you know what, why don't you do a fourplex? And just teach them the financial independence and how to eventually get to that. And I have nieces even, that I think one of my nieces is watching, and that I could teach her how to do that. And she's 21 years old. So how great would it be? Okay, Bianca, we're going to work into getting you into the condo, and then let's go ahead and get you into that duplex or fourplex. And then, we'll upgrade, and it's only 5 years or 6 years the most if you follow that ladder.
100%. And Paulina, you hit it right on the head, and it's really the point of Smart Money Life. And it's what we, and here in my team, we're out there preaching it. What we understand is the power of legacy. And I'm first generation here for my family, like born in the United States, because my parents were immigrants, and the immigrant mentality and what they pass on to us is different because of their experience. It's a little bit scarcity. It's, hey, save and make sure, and, eat every little breadcrumb off your plate. And like, it's a different mentality. We're very, because of the story, because of the struggle to get here, because of the change, because of the barrier of language. When your legacy here in the United States, that hopefully are generations to come that we live, start off now born here and with already a foundation in place that we're able to set for them based off the sacrifices that our parents did so that we can create this. Do you understand the evolution of them? They're not going to be coming from the scarcity programming that we came from. They're coming now from a place of advantage. They're coming from a place of financial ability to make moves. So like, this is what generations of leaving a legacy can create for them to really go out and do some amazing things, because it's not just, hey, we're in this country trying to figure it out. No, it's, listen, you now have, my parents gave me this, and now I'm leaving this for you, and you'll leave this for your people. And now we're really improving our culture, our family, and they're going to be operating from a different space, an evolved space that's going to be able to make impact and change the world from these type of decisions. It's not just about money and being able to put money in my pocket. It's what's going to happen for generations to come by exactly what you just described.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think, I'm not first generation. I was born and raised in Ecuador, but, my dad did lose everything that he had in Ecuador. And when he moved here, he was 55 years old. Now he's 75. But, because of that, not scarcity mentality that he had, but because of that mentality that real estate is really where the financial independence was about, he's now 75 years old. He's retired, and he's leaving financial independence. And he doesn't only live off his retirement money. That's not his, his bread and butter, but he has his rental income properties that, like you said, they are free and clear, and he's, their income that he's receiving, and he doesn't have to worry about and also he's not a burden to us or his family. And I think that to me, the biggest thing that I've seen in real estate for the past 15 years is that, you know, a lot of families unfortunately leave that paycheck to paycheck, and they don't see beyond what's going to happen in 30 years and what's going to happen in, you know, when you are 75 years old. And you do need that medicine, or you do need that somebody taking care of you, because, you know, you never know, you may, you know, hopefully everybody's going to be healthy. But even with my dad right now, you know, he just went through sickness for a couple of weeks, and now thank God he's better. But there are things that he needed that, you know, if it wasn't because they had that financial independence, maybe they would be struggling, and maybe they would be asking for money from even their kids. And, you know, I love this webinar. I hope that everybody can definitely, you know, take a look back and at the different perspective. I certainly have learned. You know, I don't believe that I know everything. I believe that every time that we speak, Kevin, you and I, we're always kind of like brainstorming, and there's always something that we're learning from each other. And I certainly think that, listen, you want to have the financial freedom, you want to get retired in 10, 15 years and actually be able to enjoy and travel and you know, if your kid needs to go to private school or whatever it is that your child needs, then you're going to be able to leave that legacy and not leave that paycheck to paycheck. And then what happens is most kids graduate and the parents were living like that. So now what happens is they get into student loans, right? So now they're getting into debt instead of getting into an income property, for example, that they could be getting themselves into.
Yeah, 1000%. Exactly. And here's the invitation that I'll have for anybody listening. If you want this, if this is something that's interesting to you, reach out to us, reach out to Paulina, and we'll get you pre-approved. We'll map out the formula. We'll see what your income is. We'll see how much you need to save. We'll map this out. And any properties that you guys have in mind, anything that you see that you're like, I wonder if this is a good deal. I wonder if this will give cash flow. I wonder if this will be the one that I should put on the ladder. We'll look at it completely for free. We'll do the analyzation. We'll break it down. We'll show you why it would be or it won't be. For example, one of my clients who's out there shopping right now for the multifamily, he sent me a property. It was in Coral Springs, Davie area. It was a triplex, and it was about $550,000. And he wanted to live in one of the units and rent the other two. And he was hoping that the rents would cover the mortgage. That's why he was interested in it. That's why he sent it to us. When we did the numbers, it was overpriced a little bit. It wouldn't cover the mortgages based off what he wanted. So based off that, because he said, if I move out in a year, I want the rents, what I'll be able to rent this one for, to cover the mortgage and leave some cash flow. And it didn't. It just barely covered the mortgage. In that case, it's not a good deal. We're not trying to say any deal is a good deal, get in it. No, there's the right deals, and there's plenty of deals that cash flow. So the invitation that I have is, that's what we're here for. We'll analyze every single deal and tell you guys if this is a great one or not so much, and why. And slowly but surely, you'll start to learn. And soon enough, you'll be playing Monopoly with us.
Absolutely. And I think that that's the biggest thing, that what you just said, it's the most important thing. You know, we are not in this just, you know, we're not in this for commissions. We're in this to make sure that we have a lifelong relationship with our clients. And we're always going to tell you whether it's the best time to buy or whether it's the best time to sell, or whether the property that you're looking to buy. Many times I've told to my clients, listen, the numbers don't work. This is not something that it's going to do what you're looking for. It's just, this is simply, if you're looking to just have that dream house and then, you know, spend the money that you have because that's what you're looking for, then that's fine. But if you're looking to invest because that's what you want to have, that financial freedom, this is not the right house for you. and or condo for you. So one of the best things that I could say is, you know, you are dealing with a team that it's completely honest and it's completely committed to your financial freedom. I'm here because, you know, I have a show called Living a Legacy, and I truly believe that that is the most important thing, to leave a legacy to your children and your family and the people that you're around, including your friends or your, you know, my agents. You know, I strongly believe in that. Kevin, how do they reach you if they need to get a hold of you?
They can reach me through you, so they can contact you. You can also find me on social medias. It's Kevin Jimeno, Jimeno. Our website for our company is TCLG, the Collective Lending Group, the initials, TCLG.mortgage. And we're here, happy to help. I mean, this strategy, if you guys really understood, we're talking about a difference of, if we buy $1 million worth of real estate, we're talking about 5% of $1 million is 50,000. 25% of $1 million is 250,000. So that's a difference of saving and coming up with $200,000 that you don't have to, if you're able to make a couple sacrifices now to not worry about life later. And one of the best feelings in the world is being able to go in and say, I'm out of here. I'm not going to work anymore because I don't have to.
Absolutely. I think that that's amazing. And again, you can reach Kevin or myself. My name is Paulina Hurtado, again with Century 21 Global Connections Realty. My phone number is 754-581-3452. You can always find me at Facebook at Paulina Hurtado, or you can look up Century 21 Global Connections Realty. This has been amazing. Thank you so much, Kevin, for being with us. And we're always here to bring you value and just help you succeed and reach your financial freedom. I hope you guys enjoyed it, and I hope you guys have an amazing day.
Appreciate
Bye,
it.
Kevin. Thank you.
Bye.